Good day, everyone, to my beautiful classmates and to you, sir. In this juncture, we will discuss about weighted voting, coalitions, and critical players. In this lesson, we will define coalitions and critical players, also determine which players are critical in a coalition of a weighted voting system. In a weighted voting system, a coalition is any group of players voting the same way. A coalition is a winning coalition if the coalition has enough weight to meet quota. Remember, in the weighted voting system that Q is the quota, W sub 1, W sub 2, W sub 3, and so on are the weights of each player. A player is critical in a coalition if by leaving the coalition it will change it from a winning coalition to a losing coalition. Let's take a look to our first example. Here we have a weighted voting coalition. We want to consider the coalition that consists of player 1, player 2, player 4, and player 5. So here's the weight of player 1, player 2, player 4, and player 5. The first question is what is the combined weight of the coalition, which would be 14 plus 12 plus 4 plus 4, and that is equal to 34. So we can say the combined weight of the coalition is 34. And notice how because 34 is greater than or equal to the quota of 30, we do have a winning coalition. And finally, we want to determine which players are critical. Remember, a player is critical if by leaving the coalition changes from winning to losing. So looking to our coalition here, notice our player 1 leaves. We are left with player 2, 4, and 5, where the weight would be 12 plus 4 plus 4, and that is equal to 20, which does not meet the quota of 30. Therefore, player 1 is critical. And now we'll see if player 2 is also critical. So if player 2 leaves the coalition, we're left with player 1, 4, and 5. Notice how the combined weight would be 14 plus 8 or 22, which again less than 30, so it does not meet the quota. Therefore, player 2 is also critical. And now we'll test player 4. So if player 4 leaves, the weight would be 14 plus 12 plus 4. Notice how the combined weight is 30, which is the quota. And therefore, player 4 is not critical. And then finally, if player 5 leaves, notice player 5 has the same weight as player 4. So player 1, player 2, and player 4 still have a combined weight of 30. And therefore, player 5 is not critical. So we say that the critical player of the coalition are player 1 and player 2. Let's take a look at our second example. Here we have a different weighted voting system and a different coalition. Our coalition now is player 1, player 2, and player 3 that have a combined weight of 33, 21 plus 12, and that is equal to 66. So the combined weight of the coalition is 66. 66 is greater than or equal to 45, the quota, and therefore we do have a winning coalition. And then finally, which players are critical? So if player 1 leaves the coalition, we are left with player 2 and 3 that have a combined weight of 33, which does not meet the quota. Therefore, player 1 is critical. Next, if player 2 leaves the coalition, that leaves player 1 and player 3 with does have a combined weight of 45, which is the quota. So player 2 is not critical. And lastly, if player 3 leaves, we're left with player 1 and player 2 with a combined weight of 54, and therefore the coalition still meets the quota. Player 3 is not critical. So we only have one critical here, and the critical player of the coalition is player 1. And now, before we go, I just want to revisit three definitions here from previous lesson. but now we'll include the idea of coalitions and critical players in these three definitions. A player is a dictator if a single player coalition containing them is a winning coalition. Next, a player has a veto power if they are critical in every winning coalition. And lastly, a player is a dummy if they are not critical in any winning coalition. I hope you find this helpful. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.